beautiful 10,000 square foot showroom at 1460 Renaissance Boulevard across from Sam's Club, or DreamStyleRemodeling.com to make your home remodeling dreams come true.
The service department at Gala Chevrolet is clean, modern, and ready for you. Our master technicians service every make and model, including certified service on any GM vehicle. Service done right the first time, every time, right here at the all-new Gala Chevrolet.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Sports Desk. I'm Scott Gallotti along with Ed Nunez. We're going to talk a lot of sports here. Today, we're going to give you the polls, talk a little high school baseball and softball, but talk a lot of general stuff as well. We've got Alden Iowani in the house, along with Jason Pohl, Josh Brown, and Josh Luna. They're all here, and we are here as well. Going to get the show started right now. And Ed, when you look at this week, what stood out to you?
Well,
what things going on?
Yes, there was the Metro Awards last night. I always want to call it banquet, but it's not a banquet anymore. It's just an award show. And it's a lot of the 5A Coach of the Year, Manny Otero, the Girls Coach of the Year, and Coach Otero brought up the entire West Mesa team with him. And, it was just good to hear his speech about how it went down. Gave credit to his assistants. Marty Zeller was there. He honored the Los Lunas Tigers in their 4A championship. He mentioned his assistants. So it was just a culmination of quite a state tournament and season. And it's good to always see the young ladies and young men all dressed up, and for one last celebration of a outstanding 2018-2019 season. A lot of DeMarcus Sutphin, the Defensive Player of the Year. A lot of freshmen honored. Brianna Otagon, the freshman from Bernalillo. Jalen Bates, the freshman from Volcano Vista. So the future definitely looks bright as far as Metro basketball. So just a great event last night, and really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's one of the great events going on here. And we had a lot of stuff on Saturday, boxing, and Duke City Gladiators back in business. The
boxing, we had I co-host the Legacy Boxing Show, and we had Josh Pitbull Torres on last Monday, and he said he was looking for a big victory. He's hoping to get a shot at one of the contenders, and he knocked out Contreras in the 8th round, TKO. And we'll see. I messaged him on Sunday, and hopefully he's going to get that shot. Josh Pitbull Torres is around 29 now, and he's getting to that point where it's going to behoove him to get some better looks and better shots. Nothing wrong with fighting here. Everyone wants that big payday. He was due to get one against Zab Judah a couple years ago, and they canceled that fight. So I know he's looking again. He'll fight whoever that you put in front of him. I got to tell you this though, that as a person, he's a great boxer. There's no doubt about it. I think as a person, I just enjoy him so much because he's a very humble guy. He wants to use his boxing platform to help the community, and you can't. I mean, every time I hear him talk, yes, he's Josh Pitbull Torres. He's the welterweight champion of New Mexico, and he wants to win. But there's also a humbleness and humility about him that you can't help but admire. So every time that we have him on, he's a pleasure to have on the show. And you know what? It's hard. We're supposed to be straight down the line, and you're not supposed to root for anybody. It's hard not to root for him. He's from here.
Right.
I'm from here. I'm from Albuquerque. So when he gets in the ring, of course I want him to win. So he did win, and it was a great card. Some other great fights. Angel Baby Pettis continues his rise up the ranks, and we'll see what's next for him. And then you mentioned the Gladiators. One thing about the Gladiators in Venom, they've gone at it for the last 3 years. Those games have been very, very close. I remember when I did it for, I did the play-by-play for Famous Hip Hop Radio. Went down to Amarillo one time, and they barely beat the Gladiators. But a couple of years ago, Nate Davis, the quarterback, and you're familiar with Nate Davis. Nate Davis made some great plays. And, they finally, gosh, on Saturday, though, the Gladiators, the defending champs, really took it to them.
Well, two quarterbacks that were in that game, Davis and Donovan Portery, they're built to be in arena football.
You're right. Closed quarters, a lot less room out there.
They know how to navigate in that situation, both running and passing. So You know, you talk about a couple of good quarterbacks who are on the big field. These guys are excellent in their domain now.
Porter Reed threw for 50 touchdowns a year, 2 years ago, and then went to play for Kansas City last year, and then returned to the Gladiators this year. And you know, Gladiators under new ownership now, so it's kind of a new direction. Coach Bramante is still there, and shockingly, one of his assistants died of a heart attack at 32 years old, and so he had a funeral to go to last week, and you know, so a lot of things. Yeah, you know, nobody expects anyone to die at 32 years old of a heart attack.
Right.
So Coach Bramante had some things to. They've gotten. They have Dello Davis, Nate Washington, another receiver that they brought in. So they're passing it. You know, they look really strong in the first 2 games. They won going away. So the defending champs, and hopefully they had 4,000 for their first game, which was the best gate that I've seen them have, I think, here since I've watched them. I don't know what they had last Saturday, but you know, maybe the team starting. We talked about that 2 weeks ago about minor league teams here in Albuquerque and the audiences that they have or don't have. Maybe this team is starting to catch on. That would be great if it did, because you know, we wish all the success for minor league anything. We know the Topes are going to be there no matter what. They're going to be there no matter who their affiliate is. And people are starting, you know, the exhibition last week. That was another thing that went on. People are starting to kind of catch on with the Rockies now. You know, I saw a lot of Rockies hats out there, and a lot of people talking about the Rockies. So we know the Topes will be here, but we've always asked, what does it take to succeed if you're a minor league team here in Albuquerque? And maybe the Gladiators are catching some of that potion. I don't know. We'll see.
Let's take a look at some of the highlights of that Gladiator game. I think we have those ready, and we'll take a look at those. You know, and like we said, Ed, a battle between a couple of outstanding quarterbacks.
Oh,
and you mentioned Dello Davis, who is one of my favorites, so you can't go wrong there.
Nate Davis has been the quarterback for the Venom for what, 3-4 years now? Maybe even longer.
Yeah.
So he's a veteran of this league, and he, like you said, he's been a thorn in the Gladiators' side for every time he goes out there. I remember a couple years ago they beat him by 1 point. I was doing the play-by-play, and he made a play at the end of the game, and they beat him. They beat the Gladiators by 1.
Right.
So that guy knows he's a veteran in this league and knows how to make plays.
And there was one game where you were doing the radio, and I was doing the game on ProView, and it was a down-to-the-wire game as well. Steve Davis and I were doing that game, and the Gladiators had the early lead and looked pretty good in terms of crowd. Maybe not 4,000, but you see a lot of people in the seats, which is good to see, which means this team has finally caught on.
The field looks better. Someone mentioned that they fixed the seams in the field, so it looks better than there's a fumble recovery right there, a tackle on the 1 yard line.
Yeah, it does look better. Good call there. It looks like I don't know if they totally redid it or did something, but it does look better because you used to be able to see the seams on TV. And there was a fumble there, and turnover's the key here, and a running touchdown, something you don't see often.
They don't run a lot of jet sweeps there in that league. They really don't need to, but there's a kickoff. Oh, man, that was a good move in space. I don't think they have Antonio Bray this year, but they've got speed at other positions, and it's certainly helping them. Porter Reed spreads the ball around so well.
Yeah, he does. So another touchdown there, and what a stand there. You know, no one talks about goal line stands in arena football, but Gladiators have one there. And
they still have Fatu Olale and Jason Serta and some other players they added on the defense that have really helped their rush. Man, what a play there. And that's what makes this league so exciting is plays like that. Fans are right there by the barriers. They feel like they're part of the action. There's Davis with the touchdown pass for the Venom. I think it's an entertaining product. I know you've enjoyed it too.
It's a very entertaining product. The only thing was getting enough wins to get in the playoffs, and the team finally got over the hump and won the title last year. But that's been the only problem, and getting fans in the seats.
Right.
Other than that, I mean, the fans get into the seats, you see a lot of action. And it is fun to watch. There's no boredom in this game.
Yeah, you know what, at all. It's a high scoring, as you mentioned, players making plays in small confined areas, explosive plays.
Well, Steve and I 2 years ago, and I think you were doing a game on radio, we did a game, these two teams, and there were touchdowns, I think, on 5 of 6 plays.
Right.
back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Take away the kickoff return. It was touchdown, 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 touchdown.
And I'll tell you what, as somebody that likes scoring and excitement, I don't know. And there's games that I remember doing, and God, you got into them so much because, as you mentioned, back and forth. One team would score, the other team would score, and yeah, in a smaller field, of course, but it's still a lot of fun. And hey, give them credit, man. They're 2-0, and they won big in both games. So maybe the defending champs are, sometimes you wonder how the next year is going to go. But looks like they reloaded pretty well.
Take a break here and come back with more on the show. But first, the top 10 plays of the week brought to you by Dreamstyle.
Will set him in motion. Donovan has some time into the end zone. It's a touchdown.
Sees the first pitch and takes it out to her own position and takes it out of the park.
Motion. Puerto Rico calls for the snap. He's going to float it to Washington, and D brings in another one. Touchdown, D. Washington. Out of the gun, Puerto Rico looking deep to Davis again. Motion. Puerto Rico's got all day. He's going to float it to Cedric. Cedric's going to bring it in. Touchdown, Cedric Johnson.
Third. And that one's driven to center field. Out of here! Another home run for Rio Rancho.
Puerto Rico going deep to Washington. Touchdown! Welcome to Albuquerque, D. Washington. Just fine.
Third. And that one drilled out to the gap. And over and out. There's another home run for the Rams. It's going to bring home 3.
Okay. There's a swing. Out! It's called out. Woo! That was a delayed call. So, the Cleveland Storm wins the Metro Area Championship. To receive this one, and we're underway. Dello across from us here, right in front of us. He makes everyone miss. No one's gonna catch him.
Car Crafters, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened?
Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
The Sports Desk is proudly presented by Car Crafters. It's like it never happened. Well, I'm going to the frontier, walk up to the cashier, order up a root beer and a #1. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
High school sports are back. The 2018-19 season kicks off, and you could watch every ProView Network broadcast live on the NFHS network. Every moment, from every game, from every sport, including all NMAA state championships. Get your highly discounted monthly pass now. Go to ProViewNetworks.com and sign up. Watch New Mexico's best.
This is Coach Borrego of the Charlotte Hornets. Hello to all you parents out there in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I want to congratulate 38 years for the AYBL. You guys are doing a great job. You've shaped a lot of lives, young men and women, and you'll continue to do that. Parents, get involved, sign your kid up. It's a great program. It helped shape who I am today, helped shape me as a basketball player, as a coach. So get out there, sign them up. Have a great season. Good luck to everybody.
Is this my car?
State Farm knows that for every one of those moments,
This is ridiculous!
there's one of these.
Is this my car? What? This is ridiculous.
This can't be happening!
This can't be happening.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Shut up.
Shut up!
That's why State Farm is there, with car insurance for when things go wrong, but also here with car loans to help life go right. State Farm.
Talk to State Farm agent Marty Size or Michelle Rudolph in Albuquerque today.
And welcome back here to the Sports Desk. Scott Coletti along with Ed Nunez. We have Alden Iowani, our fine director, doing a great job. Jason Pohl, Ed, put together a piece for the high school season.
One shining moment. They played it last night at the awards banquet, and it's awesome. It really is. He does a great job. All the guys, Josh Brown, Josh Luna, Alden Iowani, they got credit. Adam gave him a shout out last night, and I thought that was great because they deserve it. But this one shining moment was awesome. The music put together the highlights, so I don't know if he has it ready for us or not, but yeah.
All right, he's got it, so let's go.
Kick off the 2018-19 New Mexico High School basketball season.
We're done with football. It's time to move on to the hardwood.
Showtime. Patterson, put it down.
The ball is tipped, and there you are. You're running for your life. You're a shooting star, and all
he's gonna put it down.
No one knows just how hard you worked, but now it shows.
The buzzer, and he knocked it down.
One shining moment, it's all
Blankenship.
in one shining moment, they're frozen in time. But time is short, and the road is long. In the blinking of an eye, that moment's gone. And when it's done, win or lose, you always did your best. 'Cause inside you knew that in one shining moment you reached deep inside. One shining moment you knew you were alive. Feel the beat of your heart, feel the wind in your face. It's more than a contest, it's more than a did your best, 'cause inside you knew in one shot.
The defending champions will try to repeat, and the Mustangs are going to move on to the finals at 2 p.m.
The trophy is going to the Valley Vikings. The Tigers are back-to-back champions.
West Mesa state champions. That's it. Atrisco have won it.
Well, seeing those highlights, Ed, brings back a lot of great memories, especially that week. You know, I talked to James Yotis on the Team High School show the last couple of weeks, actually this past week, because we didn't do a show the week before. Joe O'Neill and Brian O'Neill did it on ESPN Radio 101.7 The Team, but we were talking about comparing tournaments, and he says he doesn't like to rate them because they're all very good, and that's true. But in terms of compelling games, it seems to me this year, in the 6 years that I've done it, the most compelling, that you never knew what was going to happen.
You know what, I think that's a great point.
A clunker here and a clunker there, but for the most part, they were all great games.
Yeah,
no matter what the level of competition was. Even games we weren't doing and ProView was, they were fun to watch.
There'll be, any tournament will have their share of clunkers, but I think you're right. That game against Mascalero, Apache, and Pecos that Sebastian Noel did, Mascalero Apache actually has a chance to win at the end of regulation, and they didn't, and went into overtime, and Pecos won.
Right.
So, I mean, and then Adam Diehl said he did 27 games, and 4 of those went in overtime.
Yeah.
So, that's a lot of excitement there. You had a lot of excitement in the games you did. And, go back to the 5A final. They showed that a little bit last night. The 5A final that you and Brian O'Neill did, and you guys did a wonderful job. Adam Diehl did that with Steve Davis. What excitement that was, back and forth, the shooting. Oh, man. These kids on a big stage, Santa Fe in the state championship for the first time since '78. The biggest, gate or biggest attendance for a long time. Now, I remember the time that Roswell played Espanola Valley, and I did that game with Henry T. And I know that game was sold out. I know it. And this game here, the back and forth, the shooting with Ramos and Tesoro from Santa Fe and Kavanaugh, and just the excitement. Because Dominic Rivas, I mentioned, his dad had won a championship with Albuquerque High. He wins one. His cousin wins one. His cousin's there last night. And, it doesn't get any better than that. It really doesn't. And those memories that we'll have, and, you mentioned this, it's like a basketball, Richard Tripp did. It's like a basketball hangover. It was. We're all just kind of recouping now. But it's a high that you're on, and all of a sudden, you go home. It's not like you just go home and go to sleep. You have to unwind from all that. You really do. But it's a good unwind. It's a lot of fun. And you mentioned, and James Yotis wrote that in the Journal. I read that article about it maybe being, he doesn't rank tournaments.
Right.
That guy's been around since '86.
Right.
He's got a lot of tournaments to rank there. But
he put this one in the 90th percentile.
And that says a lot for him.
Right.
Because nobody
and
covers.
And he said it on the air, too, after his column. So
nobody covers more games than that guy.
Right.
Nobody.
Right.
So when he says that, you got to really look
exactly.
at it and take that to heart. It was a great tournament, no doubt.
Here's the thing, Ed. You mentioned the biggest gate. Well, how about the biggest gate for an 8 a.m. game ever, according to Dusty Young? I mean, he was beaming ear to ear about the crowd. They had to start the game, 25 minutes late?
Right.
Because they had about 5,000 people waiting to get in. I mean, that was amazing.
Yeah, you know what? That's, of course, they won good gates, and I'll tell you, that's crazy to start. I remember when Dan Salcedo was head of the NMAA. I remember that. And as an official, if you weren't down at a certain time, to get clocked, mic'd up, he met us at halfway down the ramp one time. Guys, what's up? What's going on? Oh, man. Dan had a different way of letting you know. He's different than Gary Tripp or different than Sally. They're all great in their own way. But Dan would let you know if things weren't, according to on the minute or on the clock. I remember he met us right halfway down the ramp. And we're like, hey, we got to get the mics for the clock. It's not our fault. But I still remember that. That was funny.
Let's take a look at the softball coaches poll this week and see what we have in terms of movement. A2A, you got Loving, Estancia, Eunice, Jal, and Santa Rosa, the top 5.
Well, here we go, Loving, and we're just starting the season, although it's already, 3-4 weeks old now, about a month old. So, yeah there's some early look at the rankings, and Loving, haven't heard too much about them, but they're number 1 in that 2A class.
Well, how about some of these teams like Loving? It shows only 4-2, but some of these bigger classifications, Rio Rancho, for example, they've already played 16 games.
Yes, they have, and played them. Been doing pretty well with what they've been doing. So that's a lot of games, a lot of at bats. So I noticed one of their pitchers the other day, or maybe it was Volcano Vista, had a mask on, as a pitcher, and I think that's a pretty good move. I don't know if they're all doing that now, but you never know about line drives and the way fast they come off those bats.
Exactly. Let's look at 3A now. And in 3A, We go as follows: Cobre, followed by West Las Vegas, Robertson, Santa Fe Indian, Laguna Acoma. Same schools, perhaps different division.
Now look at West Las Vegas and Robertson. I believe Robertson. Okay, so Robertson, this is girls, right? So Robertson in volleyball, Robertson in basketball, and now Robertson in softball. Alianza Darley, I don't know if she's playing softball or not, but she played volleyball and basketball and did it pretty darn good. She's going to UTEP. So Robertson, as far as girls sports, has had a very, very good year. Very good year.
Well, and looking at Cobre, it reminds me of the old days. Cobre on top.
Gosh. When you mentioned that name, it's been a
while.
while. Yes,
with successful softball.
That's right. No, you're right. So yes, Cobre right where they belong. So it seems early in the season.
So it seems,
right.
Yes. 4A now, as we'll move forward. You got Artesia at number 1. They've been playing well. Los Lunas 2nd, Silver 3rd, Aztec 4th, Bernalillo 5th. You go down to Lovington, Gallup, Belen number 8, Valencia number 9. How about Valley, the Vikings, at number 10?
You know, they've had a good year and a good, a good winter year. Judge Chavez got the Vikings to the playoffs. Joel Coleman wins a championship. Now the Valley Girls at number 10. So, in their first year down at 4A, and they've done pretty well.
5A now. Rio Rancho is number 1, followed by Volcano Vista, Centennial, Carlsbad, Piedra Vista, and then you got Cibola, Cleveland, Manzano, Oñate, and Alamogordo. But the top 5, you can kind of interchange all these.
Yeah, you really can, because Rio Rancho and Volcano Vista will meet more than once. Cleveland's at number 7. Look at Cibola, those schools right there in the west side in close proximity in the top 10, and they'll see each other more than once. So
and the thing is, Centennial and Carlsbad, they'll put their resume up against anybody's, and you got Piedra Vista, who's always been pretty good.
They've been
softball.
very good. You know what? I thought they won one a year or so ago. I could have sworn
a few years ago. Yes.
Maybe I was doing that game. I thought I was, but yes, they've been.
Yeah, they've got a history as well. So Piedra
Right.
Vista, don't sleep on them.
Not at all.
And that will do it for the softball poll. We'll come back with more baseball polls and other stuff here on the Sports Desk.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Talk to State Farm agent Greg Shamus today.
Car Crafters, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog! Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened?
Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
Sadie's is a proud supporter of New Mexico high school sports and athletics, and we here at ProView Networks would like to thank Sadie's for their continued support in helping us bring you all of your New Mexico high school.
Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need, from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms, and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rollins, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales.
The Barley Brew, a proud sponsor of ProView Networks for over 9 years, is pleased to introduce Black Iron Catering. From weddings and family reunions to birthdays and office parties, Black Iron Catering is perfect for any event. Contact Jamie at 505-459-8259 and book your event today. Black Iron Catering. Let us bring our kitchen to you.
Dreamstyle Remodeling has been wowing homeowners in New Mexico since 1989. Selected as Best Custom Home Remodeler for 3 consecutive years by readers of the Albuquerque Journal, we're also your exclusive provider for top home improvement brands like Renewal by Anderson, Four Seasons, Blaze King, and many others. Founded and headquartered in Albuquerque, Dreamstyle Remodeling is family-owned and now employs more than 500 people across the southwestern U.S. In fact, we've helped more than 60,000 10,000 homeowners improve their home in New Mexico, Arizona, California, Idaho, and West Texas. We're committed to providing a superior customer experience. We've earned 4.6 stars with hundreds of online reviews and have an A+ with the BBB. Dreamstyle Remodeling is a proud supporter of UNM Athletics. Visit our beautiful 10,000 square foot showroom at 1460 Renaissance Boulevard across from Sam's Club, or DreamStyleRemodeling.com to make your home remodeling dreams come true.
The service department at Gala Chevrolet is clean, modern, and ready for you. Our master technicians service every make and model, including certified service on any GM vehicle. Service done right the first time, every time, right here at the all-new Gala Chevrolet.
Back here on the Sports Desk, Scott Galotti along with Ed Nunez. We have Alden Ioane as our fine director as always. And every week, 10:30 a.m. Tuesdays here on ProView, Comcast 26, and on Facebook Live. Later on, you can also see us on YouTube. Let's go now to the baseball polls, and we will start off with 2A on the baseball polls and go up the ladder from there. In this week's NMOT Coaches Poll, Eunice number 1 and 2A, Texaco, Santa Rosa, Capitan, and Mora. That rounds out the top 5.
Well, it looks like Texaco's always been around in those rankings somewhere. You know, they had a good team last year, and they have another good team. Mora had some success last year as well. So Eunice number 1 right now, Eunice Cardinals, and still early in the season.
You know, I noticed in the poll, Ed, the thing about softball and baseball, you see schools that you don't see in the other polls, like NACA on the others. Right. You know, some of these other schools are getting pub.
Yeah, it's good to see that. I like seeing that because you're right. We don't see NACA very much get a lot of pub, and they're right there on number 14 as far as the rankings go.
Let's go to 3A on the baseball coaches poll, and you have NIMI number 1, Robertson, St. Mike's, West Las Vegas, Santa Fe Indian. Then you got Cobre. They're always good in baseball as well, but you look at the 2 and 4 spots, a couple of schools that have always been very, very good in baseball.
Well,
in fact, they got the dueling baseball fields.
That's right. Then, you know, every time I think of West Las Vegas, of course, I think of Richard Tripp. He's a former AD out there, former coach, and they played this year at the state tournament, and Robertson won handily. And you know, every time they get together in any whatever match it is, it's for something. So right now, NIMI number 1, but Robertson and West Las Vegas at 2 and 4 respectively. So Santa Fe Indian, they impressed me in the state basketball tournament. They're at number 5. So you mentioned another team that doesn't get a lot of pub in rankings, East Mountain at number 7. Dexter Demons, they always seem to have a good team. They're number 8. So Sandia Prep at number 9. So some interesting rankings as the season starts.
Moving along to 4A now on the baseball coaches poll, the NMOT coaches poll. St. Pius number 1, Goddard 2, Artesia 3, Los Lunas 4, Miyamura, they're number 5. And you got Academy at number 9.
Well, St. Pius under Coach, I got a good pitcher, and I think McCoy is a very good pitcher out there.
He was the one to beat La Cueva.
Right, and you know what? La Cueva with the 15-run, 2-out, and we'll get to that in a minute. I couldn't believe that.
No, we'll talk about that. I was there, so we'll talk about that one.
Anyway, Pius at number 1 right now. Artesia and Goddard follow at 2 and 3, and Los Lunas having some good success themselves as far as look where they were in football. They had a great season in football, going to the championship, went to the championship in basketball, and they're number 4 right now in baseball.
Moving up to 5A. And in 5A, you got Rio Rancho moving up. And I'll tell you what, they're a strong hitting team, Ed. I saw them play against Artesia, and this team, top to bottom, they can hit the ball.
They sure can. You know what, Coach Murphy?
They also got very good pitching, too.
Which helps. Definitely helps if you have the arms. Rio Rancho under Coach Murphy, who's also coached at St. Pius, has been doing it well for a number of years. They're number 1 right now. And we mentioned that La Cueva game the other day, 15-run, 2-out rally, which James Yoda said in the paper too. He's seen a lot of rallies before, but hardly any one like that with 15 runs and 2 outs. You never seen nothing like it. That was incredible.
Cleveland number 2, also a very outstanding team. They were number 1 last week, and La Cueva number 3, and we'll keep the poll up here. They played against Cleveland on Friday. They're down 8-3 with 2 outs in the 6th inning, bottom half. And not only do they get back into the game, they score 15 runs with 2 outs, mind you. Every run with 2 outs, and they win the game in a run rule by a score of 18-8. They're down 8-3.
Yeah.
They score 15 runs with 2 outs in the bottom of the 6th.
I mean, you know, how long has Gerard Pineda been around? I wonder if he's ever seen that. He's got some outstanding La Cueva teams. And rallies are one thing, but when you rally a 15-run rally with 2 outs is just almost unheard of. So great job by the Bears in that game. They really brought out the whooping sticks in that inning.
Volcano Vista at number 4, always a dangerous school.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, the coach has been there. Kevin, I'm trying to think of his last name, but he's been there a long time. The former Pittsburgh Pirate. He was in the Pittsburgh Pirate system for a while. He was a pitcher in the farm system there, and so he's had Volcano Vista at you know, is a very good team for a long time as well. Rio Grande with Orlando Griego at number 8. He thought before the season started that this group of Ravens has a very good chance to go far in this year's state tournament.
I haven't seen them play yet, but I've heard from other coaches and other people great things about this team.
Orlando Griego's been, you know what, when I think of Rio Grande, I think of him as far as baseball. You know what, his family lives in the South Valley. They've gone to Rio Grande. They've done great things for the community. It's not just about baseball. His sister was in charge of a cheerleading squad out there. I mean, they've done a lot of things for the community. So Orlando Griego, when he says that, hey, I think our team has a real good chance to advance you know, far in this tournament or in the playoffs, I have to listen because he's been at Rio Grande for many years, many years.
And in that poll, you see Piedra Vista and Farmington, a couple of schools that take baseball very seriously.
I thought the Scorps won last year. Was it the year before? I thought the Scorpions did win the championship. So you're right. They do take their baseball seriously, and you got to take them seriously.
Great rivalry in the city, and you know, they feel that they can compete with the bigger schools. The move up, obviously, I think the disparity in talent and just the numbers kind of caught up to them. But in baseball and softball, those are the one sports that, you know, they can truly compete.
And they have. And you know what, they will. You mentioned they have excellent programs, and they're going to be there. They're going to be in contention for sure.
And obviously this year, girls basketball, they were quite good too.
Oh, man. You know, I think if you're Piedra Vista head coach Joe Reed, and you know what, give Manny Otero and the West Mesa Mustangs, they mentioned this, and we'll get back to that in a second, but Joe Reed and the Panthers gave them all they wanted. They beat them 3 times. It's hard to beat a team 4 times, and West Mesa and Manny Otero got it done. They took away the blue trophy, and one of the things we talked about, you talked about this too as well on your high school show, Hobbs going on a 21-0 run, you know, the Hobbs girls team against West Mesa, and you're thinking as a coach, how do we answer that? And they came back and they still won it by 12.
And the thing is, they were so calm about it. The players were like, okay, we got this. And you saw it in their faces. You didn't see dejection. I was looking for dejection in their face because I was producing the game, so I had a chance to watch more just the individual, like the looks that I don't get to see when I'm doing play-by-play,
Right.
and I'm watching just for reaction. And there wasn't any. And that told me, wow, they might come back. And we're talking back and forth and saying, they're going to come back in this thing.
It's kind of funny.
And like you said, they not only won the game, they won
by
the game
12.
going away.
Yeah, it was by double figures.
Yeah.
It wasn't by 1 or 2. And I think you make a good point there because sometimes when you're...
They took a big-time punch and won the fight.
When you go, yeah, that's a great way to put it. Because when you're down on
9 times out of 10, 9.5 times out of 10, a team goes 21-0
Right.
on a run, you're not going to win that game.
Because you're looking for dejection. I would be dejected as a coach, and I know Coach Otero probably called timeout a couple times, and they still went on that run, and they still came back. And I'll tell you, you know, they went through some adversity, the Mustangs, at the end of the year. They did go through a little bit of adversity. They had a key player leave the team.
Right.
And you know what? They overcame all that, man. Because, you know, sometimes you don't know how adversity is going to go. You don't
Right,
know.
right.
Well, it's expected for sure. You know you're going to have some. You know you're going to have some to deal with. And it came at really at a time that I thought, hey, I don't know what's going to happen going from here. It was a key player. But they all banded together, man, all of them, and got it done. And, you know, they'll never forget that first championship. But Manny Otero said this last night, in 53 years. And so what does that mean to that community at West Mesa, a championship, and they can be proud of that. You know, Esperanza Vados, Burke, there's Rivas, you know, CC Barella, the transfer was so key. I think about it too, Scott. We talked about this. CeCe Barella came from Robertson, who won the championship.
Right.
What would they have been like with her?
Right.
I mean, so yeah, a great season for the Mustangs. And when you mentioned Joe Reed, though, the coach from Piedra Vista, to go back to the segue, we were talking about Piedra Vista, just a real gentleman. When you see him, gosh, man, he's so happy to see you that you're covering his game. And you know what? And I know you've got a lot.
Well, we had him on the show on radio as well, and you know.
I'm sorry, I missed that. I would have liked to have heard that.
Equally as personable as you say.
Right, and you know what? I know you've got a lot of things when you do your radio coverage that people come up and say, "Hey, thank you for covering the game." And that's the kind of guy that when you see Coach Reed, he's always appreciative of, "Thanks for being here." And sometimes when people say that, I'm like, "Okay, well, yeah, you don't expect thanks, right?" But there's some people that are really happy that ProView and 101.7, the team are out there covering these games because it gives people a chance to listen at home and again, you do such a great job of bringing that picture on the radio home to these listeners, and it's great to be involved in the state tournament with the NFHS network. There's a lot of people listening, more than I actually thought. So sometimes you just never know who is tuning in.
That's the thing, you never know who is watching or listening. So that's the cool thing about what we do. So one more thing on West Mesa. The reason why I wasn't totally surprised that they came back because of how good of a shooting team they were, and once you put them on the free throw line, forget it.
They Esperanza Vados in the final, 14 of 15.
That might be the best shooting team, boys or girls, that I've seen.
14 of 15 from the line, I believe she was. And that's not. You think about it. It's a championship. It's at a different setting that you're used to.
It's like, who are they going to foul, Ed? Who are they going to foul? Nobody.
Right.
Because everyone's going to make it.
Right.
But her in particular,
but
14
or
15 was
That
ridiculous.
is really excellent shooting. And her father, of course, Larry Vados, the basketball official, is so proud, and he should be.
Right.
And that's a championship they'll be able to remember for many, many years, man, many years.
We will take a break. One more segment coming up here on the Sports Desk.
Proud
that's
supporter
him.
of ProView Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened? Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
The Sports Desk is proudly presented by Car Crafters. It's like it never happened.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
High school sports are back. The 2018-19 season kicks off, and you could watch every ProView Network broadcast live on the NFHS network. Every moment, from every game, from every sport, including all NMAA state championships. Get your highly discounted monthly pass now. Go to ProViewNetworks.com and sign up. Watch New Mexico's best.
This is Coach Borrego of the Charlotte Hornets. Hello to all you parents out there in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I want to congratulate 38 years for the AYBL. You guys are doing a great job. You've shaped a lot of lives, young men and women, and you'll continue to do that. Parents, get involved, sign your kid up. It's a great program. It helped shape who I am today, helped shape me as a basketball player, as a coach. So get out there, sign them up. Have a great season. Good luck to everybody.
Is this my car?
State Farm knows that for every one of those moments,
This is ridiculous!
there's one of these.
Is this my car? What? This is ridiculous.
This can't be happening!
This can't be happening.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Shut up.
Shut up!
That's why State Farm is there, with car insurance for when things go wrong, but also here with car loans to help life go right. State Farm.
Talk to State Farm agent Marty Size or Michelle Rudolph in Albuquerque today.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Talk to State Farm agent Greg Shamus today.
Welcome back here on the Sports Desk. Scott Galletti along with Ed Nunez, Olden Iowani doing our directing. Adam Diehl in the house. Blocking our picture as usual, so yeah, blocking our there he is.
Hey, now they really believe
Now
it.
that was the all-time photo
That's
bomb.
right,
Thanks to Adam Diehl for that.
Hey.
I wasn't expecting him to do it. He's never done that before, so that was cool.
Completely acceptable.
As the old saying goes, rack 'em.
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah, that's yeah. You know what? I got to find a way to do that to him on the rundown, and I will find a way. I'll sneak in. And,
that was good.
Yeah,
I like that. That was the big portion of the show right there.
Completely acceptable at this time.
Absolutely. I love that he did that. T.J. Otzelberger. Do you know who he is?
New coach of UNLV.
Okay.
A little bit surprised.
Do you know his story, though?
South Dakota State?
South Dakota State. Reason why I ask is watching the message boards and such for the Lobos. And that's kind of the soap opera going on. I love some of the people are hardcore, some of the people are just kind of floating stuff out there. They get on Steve Alford for going to UCLA. And like all of a sudden, well, he needs to go to a smaller school as an assistant to learn how to be a head coach. It's like, how many conference titles did he win here and tournament titles? How many automatic bids did he get? That's the thing. He got automatic bids.
Coach Alford.
Yeah. He got automatic bids.
3 tournament titles?
He didn't get to the Sweet 16. All the other years he went to the NIT, which nowadays is not easy to get into because it's run by the NCAA. Once the NCAA took over, it's basically a tournament that allows all the teams from the bigger conferences that didn't get into the NCAA to gobble up the spots there.
Boy, that's interesting. I don't think people understand.
It's true.
No, I know, but
once
back
upon
in the day,
a time, back in the day, it was all about, hey, the Pitt will get 15,000, let's put them in the NIT, and it was all about that. That's what the CBI and the CIT are now. It's pay to play, but you're based on what your crowd's going to be. So you get a guaranteed. I think the women's NIT is still based in the early rounds on attendance.
Right.
Unless you're an upper seed team, you might get a home game because of attendance. But the NIT, for about the past, well, at least since I've been here, the NIT rolls as a secondary for the NCAA. In fact, I think it was around 2007, 2008 when the NIT became this. And it's a 32-team field because it used to be, if you remember it, it used to be 16.
I do remember.
It used to be 16 teams, and that was it. Now they made it almost like a mini NCAA tournament. And so he made it to all these tournaments, and oh, by the way, he went to 4 Sweet 16s at UCLA, which for UCLA is unacceptable because they expect you to be in the Final Four every year. They fired a guy who went to 3 Final Fours.
Ben Howland.
So what does that tell you?
Yeah.
So people who say he can't coach, and they say, and then I hear other people say, well, he said he was coming back. He signed an extension. I bring up Otzelberger. He signed an extension for South Dakota State in December.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the difference? He's doing the same thing, only he's going to UNLV, not UCLA.
Mm-hmm. Here's the thing, the way I look at it,
so some people might say South Dakota State is a lateral move. It really isn't, but I mean, you can argue because UNLV hasn't won since Tark was there.
I'm surprised that they went for Otzelberger. I thought they'd go for a bigger name. Steve Alford's name was mentioned.
Well, his name was mentioned, but Rick Pitino was the front runner, according to certain people that knew what was going on. I mean, they were trying
his
for
name
a
was
slam
mentioned
dunk.
too.
And here's the thing, Otzelberger, how about a guy going from South Dakota State into a great situation because the AD said, we're going to pay our next coach almost $3 million, and he's getting that.
Right.
And he's coming from where? South Dakota State. I think they're decent. They're a lower level program. Basically, they just hired another up-and-comer who has a smaller name than Marvin Menzies did when he went there.
That's a good point.
Because I've been telling people, and people go, yeah, Marvin was known. Oh, yeah, he was known when he went to UNLV. People knew him. No one knows this guy. He might be like the up-and-comer and out-of-nowhere coach. He might be the next Beard. And remember, they hired Beard, and then he left a week later to go to Texas Tech.
Oh, I forgot all about that.
Where's he at now?
Yay.
The Final Four.
Yeah, he's not doing too bad.
No, he's in the Final Four all of a sudden. So kind of funny how fate works it.
No, you know, it really is. And like I said, I think you make some good points about that at the UNLV. But I was expecting, you know what, we talked about that on the mic with Mike Adams. I thought they'd go for a bigger name. We talked about it a couple years ago. You know, Alford's name was mentioned. Musselman maybe was out there on the outskirts. He'd been mentioned for the UCLA job, but now that they lost the way they did in the NCAA
I think he's
tournament,
also up for the Arkansas job now if he didn't already take it.
Yeah, that they just got rid of their coach there.
I heard about that, and I guess they've been in talks.
I think the stock kind of dropped a little, though, the way that Nevada lost in the tournament. They had some injuries, I know that. But his stock was up here.
Well, I felt bad for Mike Anderson, who finally got canned at Arkansas, because I know Mike really well, because my late best friend was roommates with him at Tulsa when they played together.
Oh, wow, that goes back some years.
So I've known him since, my college years, back in the early 80s. So him, Nolan Richardson, I've known those guys forever, and, you know, it was sad to see him, but that's a guy who's going to bounce back. But, you know, the one thing, Otzelberger, the unknown guy, technically, who's going to UNLV, first thing he says, we can win a national championship. And you know what? On the surface, I agree with him. Why? Same thing that I was saying would be perfect if Alford got that job. They can get players.
Right.
And they can get great players. And they can get great players with marginal grades, which some schools, like UCLA, you got to make the grade. People don't mention that. You got to have grades to even qualify to play. So they don't just go to school. Even the one and dones have to qualify.
Right. Yeah.
Because that is one of the harder schools in California to get into. The California state system, same with Joaquin Jones, the former Lobo assistant who lost his job at Cal.
Right.
You know?
Well, you know, if you look at it, they've had Billy Bano, Dave Rice, they went to Menzies, now Otzel, you know. So, I don't know. I thought, you know what, everyone wants to return to Jerry Tarkanian days, right? They do. They wax nostalgic for that, and there was only one Jerry Tarkanian. So, you know, there's not too many Jerry Tarkanians out there, and I can understand them wanting to go back to that.
Right.
That's why I'm surprised they didn't go for a bigger name. I'm kind of, okay, so Menzies didn't work out, right? So you'd think they would go, you know, for an Alford or Lorenzo Romar or somebody.
Right.
Musselman. But you know what? Maybe they feel like Otzelberger is like you said, the up-and-comer. Maybe he'll get them to where they want to go. There was the days, and you remember, when UNLV was the number 2, Larry Johnson, Greg Anthony.
Right.
Man, that was some exciting times. But they also don't want to go back to that, you know, later they found these guys in a hot tub with Richard the Fixer, whatever that guy's name was. You know, there was a lot of stuff around the program. You remember that. So they don't want to go back to that either.
Right.
I can't remember that Richard the Fixer Perry. I can't remember what his
Something
name was.
Something like that, yeah.
So
I forgot his name.
They don't want to. Yeah, I remember that in Sports Illustrated. Yeah. So you know they don't want to go back to some of that either.
That is funny.
Yeah.
What's a better program right now? What's a more alluring program to go to? UNM or UNLV?
I'd say UNLV. I'd still say UNLV.
Which is sad.
Yeah, no, it is. It is.
Hard to say too.
I'll be honest with you about my assessment of Lobo basketball. It was a very, very disappointing season. Hopefully we get Coach Weir back in here. They never, you know, they played better at the end of the year at the last 2 games, finally. I just never saw, now, according to somebody I talked to the other day, they feel like Coach Weir maybe overworks and overruns and I don't know. I'm not sure that they seem tired during game days. What I didn't see, and I told you this, you know, Dane Kuiper didn't give us much this year. I guess that knee, that tendonitis, he didn't give the Lobos very much. McClatch, Malawatch, the sophomore slump. Mathis having to go to point guard due to the injury to Jaquan Lyle. Carlton Bragg, I'm telling you this, As for the All-American that they said he was, I never was like, oh my God, wow, I see that. A couple of times, yes, some monster dunks. I'm talking about consistent performance all year long. Vladimir Pinchuk, a poor season.
I'm impressed that you saw that, Ed, because a lot of fans didn't see that. A lot of like cherry and silver fans did not see that.
No, I saw that right away.
And that's the thing that I watched for, because I'm comparing him to Drew Gordon. I'm comparing him to Darrington Hobson.
Right.
Those kind of guys. Impact players.
Right. And
guys that stepped on the court and got you points. Got you steals, got you blocks.
That's what, yeah, exactly. Protected the rim. At 6'8", 6'9", he's a small 5 anyway. And I don't know. I just didn't see it myself.
I mean, he had moments, but overall, that was the question mark. And what can they do to make him better? In closing, Lobo baseball taking on Texas Tech. Was it last year or a couple of years ago when Texas Tech put on a 20 spot?
I thought it was just last year.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Oh man, don't remind me. I've got the game tonight
you were
and
at
tomorrow.
That game, right?
Yeah.
That's why I asked. Because I know you're doing that. We do have a couple more minutes left, so elaborate a little bit on this series. Lobos coming up. They were almost no hit the other day, Ed. 2 outs. They took a pitch that looked on the video like it could have been strike 3. It ends up being a walk. Jared Mann gets the only hit of the game. They get shut out. Next day, they come out aggressive, and they win the game, and they win the series against UNLV. That impressed me.
Nathaniel Garley struck out 12, I believe. Struck out a lot. I don't know how many he struck out, but he had a good pitching game. And
Drew Gillespie, man, talking about a guy who's been pitching well.
He has. You know what, though? Now that you mentioned against Tech, it's going to be a long night in the booth, I have a feeling, man. I hope not. I hope not.
Yeah,
but you know what? I hope the Lobos win and they come out strong and they get a good pitching performance and they string together some timely hits.
Well, it's a big series because you're playing a big-name team. You're playing a team that's up there in the rankings, and you want to make a resume. They had an opportunity to do that against Oklahoma. Now they have another opportunity here as we got 1 more minute.
Yeah, you know what? And I think it's a great opportunity. They remember down against Oklahoma 8-0. They did come back and make it a game 8-6. So let's hope that they can do the same thing against Tech tonight. I know Coach Birmingham is looking for them to keep progressively getting better.
Fun stuff as always. Thanks to Alden Iowati for doing a great job. Thanks to Jason Poole for putting together that feature. Thanks to UM. We'll do it next week.
Looking forward to it, Scott.
He's Ed Nunez. I'm Scott Galletti. We will talk to you next week on the Sports Desk.
Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need, from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms, and individual and team apparel with the most reliable